Hi guys, this is LUKEZ bringing you another tutorial. As you may have seen from my previous videos, I made a 2.5D effect video which showed several static images that have a bit of depth, making them seem 3D. So, in this tutorial I will show you how to do that. So first of all, I'm going to use Adobe Photoshop and Adobe After Effects so that we can complete this tutorial, and I'm going to use this image of this pink flower right here. It is important that you find a similar image which shows the focus on the main object right here and the background is blurred, so that we can cut and make the 2.5D effect on the image. So let's begin. First of all, open Photoshop. Let's make a new canvas with a width of 1920 pixels by 1080, which is the HD format, and resolution, let's make it 150. It's pretty good, and press OK. So the canvas is ready. Now let's go ahead and open the image, which in my case is the pink flower. Now let's duplicate that layer and the destination, change it to our document. Let's close that down. Now we scale it up by pressing Ctrl T and then drag the corner handle by holding down the Shift key. Now we have our flower. We can delete the background layer, and now we crop the image so that we don't have any excess of the image. We have to select the main object right here, which in this case is the pink flower. So I use a mixture of quick selection tool and polygonal lasso tool so that I can select it as fast as possible. So that's the most I can select with the quick selection tool. Now I make it more in detail with the use of the polygonal lasso tool. So we have our flower selected. Now we are going to press Shift F6 so that we bring the feather selection. Now we are going to make the feather radius 1 pixel, and then go ahead and right click the selection, select inverse, and then press cut, Ctrl X, then make a new layer and go on edit, paste special, paste in place, or press Shift Ctrl V, and there we have the flower cut in a separate layer with a bit of feather right there. Now obviously it's not that important to select the flower exactly in detail, but it can go for our tutorial. So now, as you may notice, there is the background showing. If we make invisible the flower, you can see the background right there with the flower cut. So we have to cover all that up using the clone tool. So we have to cover it up as much as possible without noticing that it is changed. So this is the result after the cloning all the background. As you can see, I left a bit of pink right there so that it isn't all green. That's why I told you to choose a background with that is blurred, so that you can take several pieces of the background itself and then use them on other parts, like I did here to cover the flower part. Now if we make visible the flower, we have a decent flower cut right here and the background, which also looks good. Now we only have to do that for this picture. As you can see, we have the flower on its own layer and the background on its own layer. So we are going to rename them background and here flower, and we save that as a PSD format so that we can open it later on in After Effects. It is important to save it in a PSD because in After Effects it will read it as well. So we are going to name it pink flower as well, and OK. We can close Photoshop and we open After Effects. So we don't need to create a new composition because the composition will be created by After Effects itself when we import the PSD file. So double click right here to import the file, choose the PSD file that you created, and here choose composition, because composition retain layer sizes will take the size of the layers of when we created them in Photoshop. So composition, editable layer styles, and check live Photoshop 3D and press OK. So now it creates a pink flower composition, so double click it and we have our composition right here with a 1920 by 1080 size, and we have also our two separate layers, the flower and the background. So that is very important that they are separate. Now the next thing is to make them 3D. So if it doesn't show this 3D cube, just press toggle switches / modes and check that 3D cube for both of the layers. So after we make them 3D, the next thing is to create a bit of depth, which means they are flat with each other, the two layers. We have to create this depth right here, as I'm going to show you right here, which shows a bit of depth from the flower to the background. Now to do that, just undo, obviously, to get back to this flat image. Select the flower, go here on the center, which will change the mouse cursor to Z, and drag a bit the flower. As you can see, if we move backwards, the flower disappears because the background will cover the flower. We just make it a little bit more closer right there. As you can see, it became a bit bigger, but that doesn't matter. Now the final part is to make the both layers move. Now this is the most difficult part because to make them move in a regular way, it is a bit difficult, because if you make them move a bit fast, it will become fake. So it is important to keep the movement very slow and light, not from, for example, from right to left, to keep it very slow. So for example, the background will move slightly from right to left, for example, and the flower will scale down from from the size that it is now to what it was before, but still it will move a bit faster. So we are going to check for the movement. Now the first thing is to make the background move. So if we are going to make it move from right to left, as you can see, it will be black right here. So the first thing is to scale it up a bit and move it to one end so that it will then move like this. Select the background layer, press P to get the position keyframe, and select the stopwatch. Now go, for example, till 5 seconds, this depends on the image that you have, not what I say. And for example, move it right here. And let's see the movement. As you can see, it is very fast. So there are two things which you can do. One, reduce, go on the keyframe itself to reduce the movement, for example like this, or leave the same position and make the keyframe much further away. And as you can see, this is much better. As you can see, there is this slow movement on the background, which is very good. Now the next thing is to make the flower move. So let's close the background keyframes and select the flower layer. Press S to bring up the scale keyframe. We don't need any position keyframes, I think so. And we just make it from 100, as it is right here, to be a bit smaller. I'm going to check where it stops. Something like there. And to make it right here. The flower moves much more slower, so we just make it a bit more closer. And as you can see, it became a flower that has that effect like the image is moving. I think the background, let's make it a little bit faster. Yes, that's very good. So it gives that illusion that the flower is moving or the image has a depth. Let's see it once again. Okay. So this is the end of this tutorial. Hope that you will use this kind of effect in your own videos, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I have created my new website lukez95.wix.com/tutorials so that you can view all my tutorials right there. Go ahead and check it out. But if you close your eyes